find us in the early stages, turn 17, of our latest game here with Queen Victoria of England. And we have a lot of barbs to deal with in the immediate future. But we are about to make this problem a lot easier by taking this camp. That gives us obviously some era score, which is very nice. It will help us along our way to maybe get at least a normal, if not even maybe a golden. Well, there is some play to be had for a Dark Age too. These days, I always start with the idea that I'm going to do a culture game. And in truth, most of my daily games since that point have probably been culture games. Certainly out of any individual type. However, that doesn't mean to say that I am open-minded, and when I look out for whatever I see and whatever information I can glean, I might make changes. To have a look further as to why I ended up going science, aside from look how amazing this terrain is. Just look at how many hills there are. It's insane. Like, that to me, with a whole bunch of land to go to, tells me that Ruhr Valley is available. There's a river right here, very conveniently, right nicely next to any of our districts that we want to build. We might be able to build Ruhr Valley here, for instance. That would be in between the industrial zone and the river, or whatever. It made me think, you know what, I'm going to go science this game. And I'm glad I did, because it went pretty well. However, the immediate future are these barbs. Let's have a look at her kit, though. I want to talk more about how she lends herself to science games in particular. Okay, so Victoria, Age of Steam, fancy pants. Very nice clothing. It almost reminds me of the Catherine new version, how much more glitz and glam it is to the general basic form. Age of Steam, plus 10% production, and you know production is exceptionally important in every WinCon, but very much less so in, say, religious. In cities for every industrial zone building in that city. So we want to build a lot of industrial zones. Now those are negative appeal, so you don't really want to do that in a culture game, but you certainly want to do that in a science game. And plus 2 production for all strategic resources. So presumably these are like the improvements, like the mines and the pastures and things. Workshop of the World, iron and coal mines accumulate 2 more resources per turn. That's very nice. And it probably is really good for domination, to make all those units that require that and sustain on it. But, you know, decent for science as well. Plus 100% production towards military engineers. Military engineers receive plus 2 charges. Buildings that provide additional yields when powered receive plus 4 of that yield. That will obviously help, especially at the end game, because you know me, I prefer to do the terrestrial off-world missions as opposed to the Lagrange ones. So that plus 20% production towards industrial zone buildings. Very good. Harbor buildings increase strategic resource stockpiles by 10 on standard speed, which would be 5 on online speed that we're playing here. The Sea Dog is an interesting unit. Renaissance, fairly mid-game. Privateers are nice, so presumably this is even better. Capture defeated enemy ships. There's definitely an opportunity for naval domination with her. Can only be seen by other naval raiders unless adjacent to it. Reveals naval raiders within sight range. Royal Navy Dockyard. Now obviously this is fantastic. I love harbors in general, and having a specialist harbor is an incredibly powerful thing to do. Again, maybe not so much on a culture game, because in a culture game you really prioritize holy sites and particularly, of course, theater squares. So maybe less so in a culture game, but I really love harbors. Diplomacy games need them, you know, science games definitely benefit from them. I'm a big fan. A district unique to England for naval activity in your city replaces the harbour district, of course. Also removes the movement penalty for embarking and disembarking to and from this tile, which is very nice. It's like the other side of giving the units the ability to not worry about it, like certain pantheons or beliefs can do with like religious units. Must be built on coast or lake terrain adjacent to land. Yeah, I mean that's like any harbour. I don't see that being different. Plus 1 movement for all naval units built in that dockyard. Interesting. Plus 2 gold and plus 4 loyalty per turn when built on a foreign continent. So this provides loyalty as well. That's a very unusual but interesting buff. Cannot be built on reef. Yes, but no harbour can be built on reef. So that's fine. So yeah, as you join me I will show you what I was able to do. We're under severe threat here. This will be dealt with in coming turns, and hopefully enjoy this game with me. So, the Barb camp has been defeated, and you can see the units have scattered, and we are free to do as we wish. We've almost built a Tamananki, very close to it, only 3 turns. Be nice to get, but we don't have any money to get any more builders or anything. We just have to hope we can get it. But what I'd really like to talk about in this part is why I chose to settle here. And the big reason for it is, even though it's kind of in the middle, one would normally like to settle on this tile. It would save this tile from erosion. It would be on the coast. It would be on the river mouth. It would allow me to have a triangular formation with the harbor here, getting adjacency from the fishes as well as the city center, as well as a perfect spot for the commercial hub. But unfortunately, if I'm going for a science game, that's all very well and good, but it just isn't as important as this. This is a 6, 1, 2, 3, 4 mountains, and if we look, a lovely geothermal fissure for another +2, 6 total adjacency cameras. And because I really want that and prioritize that, especially when you consider the governmental plaza will actually add a 7th, because it will be +1 for being the adjacent to the governmental plaza, it is just too good to pass this up. And so therefore, I do indeed
We now have the opportunity to
get ourselves Pingala and the cap.
It was luxuries like air conditioning that brought...
And there you go. I also want to talk about our religion. We're about to get a pantheon. And there are many things to choose from, for various reasons. There's, of course, many hills. Our luxuries that we have found are minimal. So I don't think we can really go for that, because we just don't know what luxuries are here yet. The appeal is not really going to be relevant in a science game. I'm probably going to do a lot of things to damage it, but it is pretty high at the moment. So you could consider maybe that. But I think what's really important, and you cannot underestimate it, is fertility rights. Not only do we get an immediate builder, which is incredibly handy for the early game, it would allow us potentially to even chop for this. But that city growth, especially for a science game, when we're not necessarily going to be prioritizing food over production, and we're going to want to be making a lot of science campuses and the like, we're going to want to make a lot of cities in total, really. We want those cities to be strong. We want those cities to have high production. We want those cities to be able to help complement our overall science plan. So going for fertility rights is definitely what I choose to do here. And this builder can come over. We can look to potentially chop and finish out for the Atemananki. Hello! Apologies for the camera issues earlier, but I'm back. So, we have made it to the mid-game, and there's been quite a few development. Unfortunately, we were literally 1 turned to get our Atemananki, so unfortunately that was just not to be. We had since got a far other few wonders, including Stonehenge, and we're about to get Jebel Barkal. So, I could say that with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, it hits this city. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, it hits the city. Of course, it hits the city that's building it. We've been saved by the Jebel. But we also have other cities to look at. We may be able to make a city over here, and we have a settler going north to make a couple of cities more up here. We will hopefully be able to establish enough of an empire, in spite of having met 3 other neighbors in relative close proximity, to make this a worthy effort in our game for science victory. Almost turn 100 now, and something I'd like to talk about applies to all games. It's not just science games, it's not just games where you build harbors, but it's something to note nonetheless. Here we have a great admiral to potentially get called Santa Cruz, and they provide us armada out of a military naval unit. Now, if we were to look at our unit list, we don't even have a single naval unit. So the question is, why on earth would I want that? Well, this is the key. Look how this person, India, Gandhi, is getting 3 harbor points per turn, but we're talking about 120, turn 120, right? Or having 120 points in total to be able to acquire that. He needs 92 more points to get anyone, This is going to increase with each individual one that we get later on. Nobody else is getting a single admiral point. If I don't pick this up, I lock myself from being able to get it. If I lock myself out from getting it, notice that I'm getting 17.2 points per turn, Great Admiral points per turn. We would never be able to use so many more turns for so many more admirals if I don't pick this up. And that's the key. Knowing when you're going to be locked out from a particular great person because nobody else is bothering to get it. Sometimes it is better to pick up someone that is basically completely useless, so that it allows us to then look at potentially getting something much more useful, like getting a lighthouse and a shipyard for free, along with whatever other bonus they have. Yes, 210, but we can make this with 17 points per turn. That's 10 turns, maybe a little more. If we want to buy the rest, it's fine. That's a big deal. Because if you don't pick that up, it says cannot recruit, and then you cannot undo that ever. And if you're just sitting on like 500 Great Admirable points for nothing because you can't use it, then you've stifled yourself from being able to actually use something, rather than necessarily taking the hit, paying the 120 points for that worthless Admiral, and then allowing yourself access to something greater behind it. Okay, so we're making headway. We've met everybody in the game, and we're about to get Oxford University, and we're not going to get one turn on it like a Tamadanki. I promise. Also, what I want to talk about is that Madurai and India have been very much encroaching into areas I would have liked to settle. So if you can't settle, convert them instead, right? So we have 3 cities here that are hoping to do the deed and take Madurai for ourselves. I don't know how long that will take, but hopefully sooner rather than later. If we have a look at our loyalty figures, you can see that it had going to happen in 6 turns and minus 9.4, and there are way more than 6 turns left in the current era, so you should be able to take control of this, you'd like to think. Let's pass the turn and see what happens, shall we?
The clever men at Oxford know all there is to be known, but they none of them know one half as much as intelligent Mr. Toad.
You know, this is the first time I've built Oxford University in a deity game, possibly ever. I didn't realize they were gonna quote Wind in the Willows for it. That's kind of funny. So yeah, let's see what this thing does for us. So it says here, it provides plus 20% science in that city, which is now rivaling our other cities at around 20 science per turn. And awards 2 randomly chosen free technologies when completed. So it could be any era. Must be built on grassland of plains and adjacent to the campus district with a university. And it provides us obviously great scientist work points. That's nice. And 2 great works of writing slots. You join us late game as we have secured Madurai. Woohoo! So we have another city. And not just that city, but we also explored all the way to the west. And we have acquired 3 more cities that are all pretty good shape. This one's only 4 size, but this one's even building a spaceport. And speaking of spaceports, 1 turn remaining from our cap getting its spaceport. Now, I want to mention that I have Ruhr Valley in this capital. Don't forget, I did talk about just how many goddamn, some of these are quarries, mines, the area and hills this place had. And it's just, it shows, it really does. Because even without focusing on production, it has 123.7 production, which is going to make all these first mission projects to go to outer space so much quicker. And by the time that it has completed those, and I have researched them with nanotechnology and the like, these other spaceports will be finished. And then, of course, the finale, where we have every single city that build a spaceport do their terrestrials, and we're off to Mars! So join us there. And there it is, the last turn, all in its glory. We completed this game in 173 turns. We have ourselves a whole bunch of industrial zone logistics projects running. That city might need one too. But the point being is here we are. We have 8 light years per turn now, with only 5 required. So as we pass the turn, it will end the game with glorious victory music. So if you've enjoyed this, please don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. I'd love to see you again. And I wish you all the best. Let's continue to enjoy this game together, shall we?
Much as our ancestors did ages ago, we thrust forward into the unknown. The first pioneers set forth on an uneasy course. And yet once again did our people thrive. Now, under your leadership, we plot a new course and make another world our own.